Well, hey everybody, how you doing? We live? Carlos, we live? I have to unmute you. Hold on a second. This is professional show business, everybody. I have to remind you every week that I got all these buttons and things, and I have forgotten how to push half of them. So I'm getting used to it since this is the third one of these things that I'm doing. And good evening, everybody. How are you? I was surprised. I see we got Bart Kay himself watching me. Carlos, you know who Bart Kay is?
I do not. Who's that?
I couldn't possibly begin to describe him, but I love him.
Okay.
I love him.
I see you have people from Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah, Bart's down there somewhere, and
pretty cool.
And Bart doesn't like my jazz. I'm sorry about that, my friend. Sorry. But anyway, I'm flattered that you showed up here, that I've attracted your attention, and thank you. And if you think you might want to join us at some point, I don't know. I can send you a link, but I don't know your email or anything. So you can. It's not going to work, but we'll arrange it maybe for another time because I'd love to have you.
Actually, maybe one day if I'm not available to help you, he can help you.
No, Bart's not the kind of guy that sits second chair. No, Bart is an incredibly well-educated ex-college professor in biology and physiology, and he's kind of the go-to guy in our community for the definitive answer on anything biochemistry.
Gotcha.
Yeah, very, very, and a real character too. A real character.
That means he likes to have fun.
Oh God, yeah, he's a clown, and he's got a great. I love his sense of humor. A lot of people don't get him, but I get him. He's got a sidekick too, a little yellow teddy bear, yellow Ted. Anyway, I love it. Anyway, Bart, thanks for being here. I know you want rock music next time. All right, we'll see if we can do that. All right, my disclaimer right off the bat. I am not a doctor. I don't play a doctor on TV. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I have no credentials. I have no formal education. I have no allegiance to anybody. I have no licenses to talk about this stuff that I could lose if I say the wrong thing. So basically, I am completely unfiltered, and I don't worry about it. But please, I can't tell you what medications to take. I can't tell you any of that. Anything that I say on these channels and on my videos is the story of what I've discovered for myself over 50 years of diet failures, and now the greatest success in my life. And I want to share how I did that. And that's what I have to offer. And if anybody wants to put me in jail for that, let them try. Okay, what do we got here? We got 69 people in so far. That's good. Nice crowd. Anybody ask any questions yet?
Not as of yet, but if you do, you know how to. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just look over the chat and see if I recognize any of the names from all the comments. I say hello to some of these people. We got Time Traveler was the first one in. T-Tox L-Bag, Northwestern North Carolina, and Jody Drone Shots is here. How you doing? M7974. Sandra McDonald, how are you? Susie Kirby, Richard Williams. Richard, I know you're from Copper Hill, Tennessee already. Every video Richard comments hello from Copper Hill, Tennessee. So Mr. JRC's, when will Mitch fly drones again? I fly them occasionally, but I doubt I'm ever going to get into the YouTube drone thing again. Randy K is here. Bart Kay, Pollyanna, Sandra McDonald again.
CA 106 from COA 106 from Delaware.
Okay. And Victory, hi, how you doing? Thank you very much. Thinks I'm amazing. That's one out there, Carlos. Remember that. Olive Branch, Jennifer Eugen. Sorry, folks, but I have glasses that work for the computer, but I still, well, maybe I can make this text a little bigger. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
That's what I need.
Yeah, Control and the scroll wheel up should do that. Tina's here. Desonje, how you doing? Desonier, however you pronounce it. How you doing? I recognize that name. Hachi, I recognize your name. Jane Davis, how are you? Good evening.
Jackrabbit FPV.
Melinda Yelverton is here. Jennifer, is it Gauguin from Quebec? How are you? Carnivore Scott from North Alabama. Kate from Kentucky, how are you doing?
SW from Mississippi.
Oh, man.
That's at the bottom. At least my bottom. Hey, check out my new shirt, Mitch.
Where'd you get it?
From this old guy I know.
Yeah. well. Speaking of shirts,
Thank you.
I told everybody that in memory of Jimmy Buffett, I would dig out one of my shirts with a parrot on it. So here it is.
Looking good.
That's my
Looks like
tribute.
a shower curtain.
That's my Jimmy Buffett shirt. And like I said, I used to refer to all these tropical shirts as Jimmy Buffett shirts, and I was really broken up by that, man. I just he was like an icon to me, and I must have been I must have gone to Key West 100 times. I loved that place when I was flying. I could jump in my airplane in Orlando and land in Key West in a little over an hour. So we used to go down there just for the day and then come home. But I loved the place. I loved the lifestyle. I've always been kind of a wound up, hyper type A kind of a guy, and I could relax in Key West. I could lay back there. I don't know why, but there's something about it. Go to the dock for the sunset ceremony every day. It was really great. So did I get everybody in the chat? SW, Dawn, how are you? South Dakota, wow, we got them from everywhere. Jack Rabbit, hey, how you doing, Jack?
Atlas, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, and I see Lioness Hiker, and we got Craig Smith is here. How you doing, man? Carnivore Scott time. Okay. Super.
Real quick, Mitch, if they have questions, make sure you capitalize question and then leave your question so I can keep track for Mitch if they are more than he can handle.
And there's Carlos. Oh, they couldn't see you show off the shirt, Carlos. I didn't have you in the picture. So go ahead and show off the shirt. We all recognize that shirt.
Nice, I like it.
There you go. All right, good deal.
Very cool.
So, everybody have a nice holiday weekend.
I did. Nice and relaxing.
I'm lost here. Excuse me a second. Why is this over here? Addicted to Antlers. He's a regular. See him all the time. Jennifer is here again. Okay. I for some reason ended up with the chat over in both windows. So let me try this and see what happens.
Hey, can you make me blue now? Not that it matters.
Oh, yeah. I got to find you here.
That's all right.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I got you. Okay. Hang on a second. Okay. Just don't.
Jack Rabbit.
Don't keep throwing people out. That's all.
Never.
Okay.
Jack Rabbit FPV has been cutting trees, I guess, since the storm.
Well,
he's in Florida, you know that. Florida,
yeah,
Georgia.
Okay. You know, I had a pretty nice opening act today. Ken Berry went on right before I did.
Oh.
Yeah, he's normally on Monday night, but evidently because of the holiday, he decided to go on tonight. So at 5:30 here local time, he went on, and he went for a little less than an hour. And I said, well, it was nice of him to open for me. I was flattered. When I saw the thumbnail that he was coming on, I said, oh, God, Ken, don't do this to me. Don't go on exactly when I am. Carlos, type something in the chat so I can make sure that I got you. because I haven't seen it yet. Question, here we go, not carnivore related, but there's a big store forming out in Eastern Atlantic. I don't think you've got much to worry about, but wondering if people are starting to talk about it yet. Oh, I mentioned that in that video I made the other day about being stressed out about everything, and the first thing I said was I turned on the news this morning, and the first thing I hear is I got another crisis to worry about. There's a storm that's going to come blow me away, and it's coming off the coast of Africa. Well, that's the storm you're talking about, and yeah. This is the time of the year, and September is the busiest month for hurricanes. So, oh yeah, you're blue, Carlos. So. Yes. We worry about that, and these storms can take 10 days, 12 days to get here, and it's agonizing sometimes because the track changes. If you all remember Ian from last year, Ian was supposed to hit north of Tampa, and my daughter lives right there, and that thing was headed right for her house, and it was a bad storm. So they're all busy getting ready for the storm, and they're all upset and everything, and then the track changes a little bit south, and a little bit south, and a day later or 2 days later, it ends up hitting way down in Fort Myers, which is at the southern end of the state, and came right across the center of the state, right towards where I am, went right over my house. And my daughter didn't get anything. So you really can't prepare. One year we had a hurricane here where it was supposed to hit on one coast, and it ended up gone south and coming in the other side, and everybody who evacuated from the East Coast to the West Coast had to turn around and evacuate back to the East Coast along with all of those people because the things changed their minds. So these forecast models are good for what they are, and sometimes they nail it pretty good. But when you look at those spaghetti plots, you can pretty well see that at least one of those things can cover any particular contingency. And somebody always has the rights to claim, well, we predicted that one. Well, I think there's a lot of luck in them because there's so many factors that influence the weather that I'm amazed they actually get it as close as they do.
We have two questions.
Okay, any thoughts on homemade high-fat
yogurt,
natural yogurt? I'm not a yogurt fan. Now, it's cultured, so the little bacteria have munched up all the sugar or most of the sugar in it. Do you have, I would think if you don't have any intolerance to any dairy, some people do, and it depends on how strict you are on carnivore, what stage of the diet you're on, whether you're pretty well fat adapted or you're still fighting off all the cravings and everything. If the food it doesn't give you cravings, and if you're using animal fats to make it high fat, like I imagine you'd be using heavy cream or butter or something like that. For me, I would try it at least and see what happens. And if you start to get cravings, stop it. If it doesn't bother you, and eat a little bit of it. Don't the problem with stuff like that for me, and it happened to me recently, well, not recently, but a few months ago, I love Swiss cheese. Now, Swiss cheese is not a high-fat cheese. It's got skim in it. But I love Swiss cheese, and that's probably one of the only cheeses I like. So I thought, well, I could probably eat maybe one slice a day. And I would take that slice of Swiss cheese, and I'd put it on a pork rind with some smoked salmon, and it was delicious. And a week later, it was 2 slices a day, and then 3, and then 4, and then I finally said, that's it. This is the beginning of binging on stuff that's not good for me. So hold on one second. Bart Kay, email sent. Good. Okay. See you soon. I have to go find out who's wrong on the interwebs. Good luck. Give him hell, Bart. Give him hell. Bart goes out there and plays somebody's lunatic vegan videos and stops every 2 seconds and basically tells them why they're wrong, and I love it. I love it. I made yogurt with 35% cream and couldn't stop eating it. Yeah, see, that's what I was talking about. And some people, we're all a little different, even though we're all human beings and basically we're built the same way. But it's the subtle little differences and habits that we have and the state of our biology that makes these little things that this guy can do this, but that guy can't. So you have to experiment and be careful with these experiments because you might wake up that little beastie in you that likes that stuff and he's going to, and then you're going to be gone for it. Hey, Mitch, would you please share your, wait a minute, hold on a second. Any thoughts on homemade fat question? Hey, Mitch, would you please share your thoughts on eating raw egg? Let me see if I can find these questions so I can put them up on the question. Hey, Mitch. There you go. There you go. I'd like to put them up there so people can see them.
Gotcha.
On your thoughts on eating raw egg yolk with milk or melted butter. I don't know about the milk because milk has lactose in it. And if you've watched a lot of Ken Berry, you know that he's adamant about it. And I agree that milk is appropriate for babies of any species. And after that, it's not. I know Carlos, my esteemed buddy here, loves milk. And I'm trying to get him to stop. But
I'm drinking less.
Okay, but you're better off without it. But the heavy cream, the whipping cream, would be fine, I would imagine, because that's unless you're drinking a half a gallon of it a day, then you're just getting too much fat. You got to be careful of that. But I don't see any problem with that.
Somebody wants to know about your workout. His name is Abiding You.
I'm looking for.
Go to the gym.
What is your work? Okay, let me find that here. Here it is, right there. Hey, I'm getting pretty good at this, huh? I hope nobody. I hope nobody here comes here to see professional show business. This is basically,
We're professional amateurs.
Just some old guy here who, after an entire lifetime, finally figured out how to get thin and healthy. And I'm telling you, it's been a lifelong quest. When you go to the gym, what is your workout? Okay. I go down the whole line of the machines that they have with resistance training. It starts with chest, shoulder, bench press, and then you do the flies, and then you do the reverse flies, and then you do the shoulder press straight overhead, and then the next one down the line is rowing, where you pull back, and then pull downs like this, and then after that is biceps, and after that is triceps. Then I go to the leg machine. I do the reverse curl, leg curls, and the leg extensions. I go do some ab stuff, some crunches. I go over to parallel bars where I can rest on my shoulders and get my feet off the ground. I do leg lifts, and maybe I'll walk a mile. And the whole thing is going to take me 45 minutes to an hour. But the way I do it is high intensity interval training. I don't stop. I push the most weight that I can get, more than 6 reps, but not more than 8. So if I can do the 9th rep, I need to increase the weight. I do 2 or 3 sets of everything on the machines with the heaviest weight I can push to do between 6 and 8 reps to failure. In other words, I go to the point where I'm out of breath and my muscles won't go any further. And I do that on all the machines, and I maybe rest 30 seconds between any of the sets, and that keeps my heart rate up there where I'm in the anaerobic range. I'm not doing aerobic exercises. So I do one run through of that, and like I say, at most I'll be up there for an hour, and then I go down and I sit in the sauna for 15-20 minutes and take a shower and come home. I do that 3-4 times a week. So that's what I do. And it seems to be working for me. I don't know where this is coming from. I was never a muscular or athletic guy, but yeah.
Keto gum, is that anything that just doesn't have sugar but has aspartame? Which
I never. You don't want aspartame. That stuff's no good for you. I never heard of keto gum.
Right.
Between
But I can
you and me.
relate to the oral fixation because I just for everybody's sake, I just quit vaping after smoking for years and years, and then I quit vaping, and I find myself with a piece of juicy fruit once or twice a week. If I really, if I have it in the house, I don't bring it home, and I just sweat it out. The oral
Well,
fixation.
unfortunately, that's not for
It's
people
not the
trying
right
to do
way.
carnivore. That's an absolute no-no on a number of different levels. It's got sugar or artificial sweetener in it. It's got a sweet taste, and that's what you want to avoid because that's what triggers addictions. And you know that most of I'm a horrible carb addict, so most of what I learned is what you hear out of my mouth these days is how to deal with these addictions, and some of the advice I give out might not apply to somebody that isn't as addicted as me. But it turns out that more people are hard food addicts than anybody ever imagined. And I imagine that anybody that has suffered through diets and keeps failing and keeps failing and keeps failing is more of a food addict than they might think. So, but my advice doesn't lean towards keto, because keto for a real food addict has got a lot of traps in it. And we talked about that, especially trying to make all this imitation foods that allows you to maintain and I call it a food-centric life, which is not what you want to do when you're addicted to something. It'd be like an alcoholic spending his day trying to concoct non-alcoholic drinks that look and taste like an alcoholic drink. It's not going to help him suppress his cravings for alcohol. It's only going to amplify them. Okay, what else we got? Victory.
Right now, nothing but-
Yeah, we got one down
You
at the
had
bottom
mentioned,
there.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't see it. All right, that's a
Now that
question.
you've been
Now,
carnivore for a long time, do you still fight sugar cravings? Yes. How do you deal with it? Victory.
Yep.
I have been keto for a long time, low carb for 50 years, on and off. I mean, I started with Atkins back in the early 70s doing low carb, and every diet that I've ever done has been a low carb diet. It's been paleo, it's been keto.
What's paleo? If you don't mind me asking.
Paleo is very similar to, but it has a lot of a Mediterranean component in it. A lot more olive oil and vegetables and things like that. Keto is more like carnivore, where you go more red meat and everything, and you're only allowed 20 carbs a day. Paleo wasn't about limiting your carbs so severely. It was about whole natural foods. But most foods were pretty much on the table, and when the paleo stuff came out, you weren't hearing all this about the plant toxins and all of that stuff that Anthony Chaffee puts out. So it's still a low carb diet. You can make it as low carb as you want, but not nearly as low carb as a strict keto, 20 grams of total carbs a day. And then, of course, carnivore is as close to 0 grams and no plants. So, but let me answer this question. So I've been on carnivore since August 1st of last year. So I'm now 1 year, 1 month without a vegetable. Period. I have not had in a year and a month a single thing that grows on a plant except for the coffee that I drink. It took about 6 months for the what am I doing here? I want to get, no, that was it. I want to get rid of all of them. There you go. It took about 6 months when I woke up one day and I realized that I didn't want that stuff. I mean, I didn't have the cravings for it. And I really wasn't cognizant of when that stuff actually faded out, when it stopped happening. Because after the first month, I would say that the cravings diminished by 90%, month or two. I stopped thinking about it, but I would still think about it. And if I happened to be triggered, if I was in a grocery store and walked by a bag of frozen blueberries, which I loved, my mind would go there, and I would think about devouring 3 pounds of frozen blueberries, which is what I used to do in a day. So when I got to 6 months, I noticed one day that nothing bothered me. I didn't want anything else. I hit the supermarket on a mission. I would right to the meat counter and right to the pork rinds and right to the. It took me 3 minutes to shop, and I felt sorry for anybody that actually got between me and the meat counter, because I would run them over. And at this point in my life, for the first time in my life, and I never had this feeling on any other diet, because I've gotten thin before, I've lost weight before, but I always wanted that stuff. Now, I honestly, I don't want it. I don't want to eat it. It has no appeal to me. But yet I know I'm still, and I made this point in that video I put out today, I'm still an addict. I'll always be an addict. And if I were to eat a bowl full of blueberries, I could destroy everything that I worked for over the year. And that's why, if you look at a food addiction like an alcohol or drug addiction, that's why an alcoholic knows that they can never drink again for the rest of their life. They have to know that going in, because they have to know that one drink and the bottle follows and everything else follows.
One is too many and 1,000 isn't enough, right?
Right. And for us that are addicts like I am, it's the same thing with sugar and food. You just can't do it. You wake up that memory back in your brain somewhere, and before you know it, you're looking for another fix. But at the end of the video that I made today, I wanted to make sure to make the point that when you come out, after you do get adapted to this and you do lose the cravings, even though you're still an addict, your whole life is much better. Because when you look at people out there who are addicted to food, and food is their only source of pleasure, and food is like a fix, like a drug fix to them, they're like a junkie, always looking for the next fix. They're never satisfied. So they're always looking for that new fabulous restaurant or that new recipe, or they're watching this cooking show, or they're running to the store to buy the new foods, and all for that rush they get from eating that's akin to a drug fix. Now, this is what I think it is. I may be wrong, but to me it makes a lot of sense when I watch the behavior of people, especially on opening night of a new restaurant. Everybody thinks that's the answer to my prayers. I'm going to be a happy person now if I can just get into that new restaurant. So when you do get adapted to carnivore, you start looking at the few limited variety of foods that you eat as delicious, satisfying, and all you could ever want in the world. And like I say, if anybody had told me that was possible a year ago, I would have told them, you're crazy, you're living, on some other planet. But it happened. It happened, and I'm still in wonder by it. Okay.
Jack Rabbit TV wants to know if you have to exercise to lose weight.
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's the part I liked when you first introduced me to this. Is I was sitting down and I lost 30 pounds on my butt just sitting. It was beautiful.
That is one of the horrible things, among others, that all this bad advice that we've been getting all these years has done to us. They have told us we have to lose weight. We have to deprive ourselves by lowering the calories that we eat, and we have to move more. That's their mantra. Eat less, move more. Eat less, move more. And who wants to do that? And who can sustain that for any really long length of time.
I've told people that they would have to run from like here to California to lose a Big Mac. You know,
But the problem, it's not that you can burn off calories, because we don't burn food, we metabolize food. It's a whole different thing. And that whole calories business is not scientifically accurate, Carlos. It isn't. So, not saying that exercise isn't good for you. Exercise is great. I mean, we as a species were meant to lift things and move and run and hunt, and we have all these muscles for a reason, and but it has nothing to do with weight. Weight has to do with your metabolism, and what happens is our bodies have genetically inherited all kinds of conservation mechanisms to keep us from dying and starving to death. So what happens when you're running out of firewood, for example, in your cabin, is you settle for a cabin that's a little cooler, warm enough to keep you alive, but maybe not as toasty as you'd like, so you can make your firewood last twice as long. And your body does the same thing with its energy. When you keep depriving it of enough food and enough energy, and it has to start burning its own energy, it slows down the metabolism. And this is what happened to the people that went on that Biggest Loser TV show. If you remember that, The Biggest Loser.
Heard of it. I never watched.
And a big bunch of fat people. They worked them to death in the gym 8 hours a day. They starved them to death. They lost enormous amounts of weight in short periods of time. And they did a follow-up with all these people years later. Every one of them gained all the weight back and more. And they gained more because they permanently changed their metabolism. So now, after all that suffering and all that pain and all that weight loss and all that weight gain, they're sick people whose metabolism doesn't work right. And they're going to be having to starve themselves for the rest of their life, or else they're going to get huge as a house. And that's sad. That's sad. But, you know, I guess in theory it sounded like a good idea. The Army does it. I remember basic training. God, they ran us to death.
So you have a question about, do you do cold showers after your sauna? Man,
I do.
It's exhilarating.
I do. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Do I do cold showers? Where's the question here? I see it. So I know it's here. I'm looking at two different versions of the chat. One where I can put it up on the screen, and the other. Anyway. I answered the one. Okay, so I do. Now, it's not like a an ice plunge. Okay, it's definitely not like a plunging into a bath of ice water. But I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm generally one of the first people in there, so the hot water hasn't gotten hot yet. So when I turn on the shower, it's pretty cold, and yeah, I clench up and I go under it, and it's a shock. And I wonder every time I do it, why do I do this? Because it is a shock to your system. And I say, God, I hope this isn't bullshit that I'm hearing from these people. And maybe I'd be better off just, getting under a hot shower. But yeah, I do it. There are some things you can do that people say are good for you. You don't know whether you believe it or not, but you also say, it couldn't hurt, so why not? Maybe it will do some good. So you give it a try.
You have a question from Randy K about vitamins. Do you think you need to be on vitamin B complex or any other vitamins?
Depends on what you're eating. If you're eating red meat, I'd say no. If you're trying to do carnivore with chicken and pork, yeah, maybe. But if you're doing carnivore like I'm doing carnivore, where I eat at least one meal a day is beef, if not 2 meals. I eat a lot of bacon, a lot of eggs, and a lot of red meat. And I get everything I need from that, except I do a drop of iodine, of Lugol's 2%, in my morning coffee, 1 drop, because where the cows graze these days, the fields and the topsoil, evidently is a little iodine depleted. Okay? So the cows aren't eating the iodine, it's not getting into the meat. The only thing that gets into the cow's meat, the only minerals and things, are the stuff that is in what they eat. Just like the only minerals that get into us are in what we eat. It's a food chain. And these minerals have to climb the food chain. So I do the iodine, and that was basically a Ken Berry thing, and I appreciated that because why not? And you get a little bottle of this Lugol's 2%, and it has eyedropper in it, and 1 drop. And people were making the mistake of squirting a whole dropper in. That's a lot of iodine. 1 drop of iodine is 15.
And there's not enough in your salt?
I don't use iodized salt. I use either Himalayan pink salt or Redmond real salt. But you can't OD on it. I mean, you can't OD. You're not going to be able, not drop by drop. Some people take 2 drops of it a day. It's 1,500 micrograms of iodine, which should be more than enough for anybody, especially people that don't have thyroid issues. So that's just a little precaution. And I take a little of that Dr. Berg's electrolyte mix a day. Just to make sure I get enough potassium. I also take a magnesium capsule, a 400 milligram capsule of magnesium every day. Nowhere near enough to OD on or hurt you. For a while there, I thought, well, it might be smart to take one of these multivitamins. But then I started reading what was, in them, and I said, nah, don't want that. They're pretty much garbage. So
Swamp Ninja wants to know your height and weight.
My height, I'm 5'10" tall. This morning I weighed 138 pounds. I mean, coming out of my mouth, that number sounds absurd. But I'm 138 pounds, and yet I still have 15% body. I have one of those scales you step on where it measures everything. And I have 15% body fat, a BMI of 20. So, and it also tells me that I'm in the normal range for a 76-year-old man who is 5'10" tall. That range goes down to like 120 or 9 or 130 pounds is the bottom of the range where it says you're too skinny. So I don't think I'm too skinny. I am amazingly putting on more muscle now than I was ever able to do, even when I was younger. And I guess that's just all the protein that I'm eating. I have a skinny little frame. If anybody sees my wrists and everything, I've always had a very small frame on me, but I think I'm in the best shape of my life. I mean, better than I was when I was 20 years old, that's for sure.
Okay, Mr. M797, question: how long did it take you to stop craving carbs? Thanks.
I answered that a few minutes ago.
Just in case.
I noticed, like I said, I noticed after a month in or maybe 6 weeks in that the cravings for that stuff diminished by a good 90%. I hardly was interested. Unless I was triggered, unless, like I said, I was in the supermarket walking by the freezer case where the frozen blueberries were, which was one of my last things that I gorged myself on because they said eat berries on keto. So I said, oh, good, I'm allowed to eat berries. I like blueberries. So they sell 3-pound bags at Aldi. I buy a couple of them. I buy a 3-pound bag or 2, and I take it home, and I get a little glass custard cup. You've seen those little egg custard cups. And I would open the 3-pound bag, and I would dip the little cup in and close the 3-pound bag off, put it back in the freezer. And that's it. I'm just gonna have this 1 cup because this has got all the carbs I'm allowed to have. And then, like Ken Berry says, you can have maybe a small handful of nuts. And I used to like walnuts and pecans, which are good nuts for keto. And I would eat that one little bowl of berries and that little handful of nuts. And an hour and a half later, the 3-pound bag was empty. and the half a bag of nuts was gone. And that's how much of an addict I am. I told you the story sometime. I'm sure everybody hasn't heard it yet, but I've told the story many times. That I would find myself driving to the 24-hour Walgreens drugstore at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I would get out of bed. I couldn't keep anything in my house. If I had it in my house, I would eat it. It was an endangered species in my freezer, ice cream. It never survived till the next day. And I decided I would have to have some ice cream, and I would get up, get dressed, 3 o'clock in the morning, get in my car, drive about 2 miles to the drugstore. I'm going to buy 1 pint. That's it. Ben & Jerry's. Cherry chocolate chip, they had something like that. It was my favorite. And see, I can say it now and I don't even want it. That's what's amazing. So I go to the Walgreens drugstore to buy my pint of ice cream. And the first thing I see on the counter, it says 2 for 1. So all right, I'll go home with 2. And right next to the Ben & Jerry's, there's a half a gallon of something that's on a big sale. And that half a gallon costs less than the 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's I'm going to buy. So home I go with a half a gallon of ice cream. And by the time I'm done, or I've said I've had enough, I would have eaten 3/4 of it. But I knew, and this is in the middle of the night, but I knew that if I put it in the freezer and went back to bed, a half an hour later, I'd be out there to finish it. Because that's a pattern. I'd done that before. And as disgusted, remember I made a video about how that addiction works and how your inner beast takes over and shuts off your logical thinking. And after it's had its ice cream, it turns the logical thinking back to you. And your first thoughts are, when you finally begin to think like a rational human being again in your conscious mind, that you feel shame and guilt. What was I thinking? I can't believe I did that. How did that happen? You know, we've all gone through that after a binge or something. I knew that would happen. So when I felt guilty, I took advantage of that feeling of saying, I'll never do this again. And I would turn the hot water on and I would pour the ice cream down the sink. And that way I couldn't eat it again. And then fight the urge to go back to the drugstore to buy some more. And that was the kind of addict that I was. And I have a funny feeling that there's a lot more of people out there that were that addicted like that. I'm not the only one like that. And if that's the way I was, and this is what happened to me now, that is great testimony for the effectiveness of this carnivore way of living and eating, because nothing else I've tried in my entire life ever accomplished this. And I really feel, and you guys, if I go off the wagon and then show up sometime a year and a half down the road weighing 200 pounds again, you know, you can stone me to death if you want, because right now I feel assured that can never happen as long as I continue to just eat meat. And so far, I don't want to eat anything else. And that's the key. The key is that I don't want to eat anything else. Most of the time, when you're trying to change your habits or your diet, the wants don't go away. But the nutritional aspects of this diet change you and change your body chemistry back to the way we evolved to be. Everything starts working right again. And all the need for all that other stuff just fades away. I don't know how else to tell you. I feel like I'm going to church and testifying here. Question: what has your blood pressure been? Mine has dropped a lot. Yeah, mine settled. It's funny you say that. Mine settled at 110/65. Pretty much. I take it once a week now. Where is it? I moved everything around here for this live stream, and I put my blood pressure. I usually keep it at my desk here. Then I put it in the cabinet up here. Hold on. No. Anyway, it has a memory on it. I was going to show you. It comes out usually 110, 115, 105, somewhere in there, over 65, maybe 70 sometimes 60. But I take it first thing in the morning when I get up, and everything's calm. I haven't had coffee yet. I sit and I relax for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but and in a quiet place, which is how you're supposed to take your blood pressure, and which is why Ken Berry says you never get an accurate blood pressure reading at the doctor's office. I know I don't. I have what they call white coat syndrome. Just the fact that I know somebody's trying to take my blood pressure will raise my blood pressure 30, 40 points. And when I was a pilot and when I used to fly a lot, I had to renew my flight physical every year. That's the one thing I always dreaded. I had to go into this flight physical doctor's office, and I knew that my blood pressure had to be low or I would lose my pilot's license. And that pressure raised my blood pressure up really high. And the good thing was that this doctor that I had that did my physical every year, he knew me. And what he would do is I would go in and he'd usher me into an exam room, and he'd say, lay down on the exam table, and I said, I'll be back in 15 minutes, and he'd turn off the lights, and I'd lay in there and just relax. And he'd come in and he'd take my blood pressure, and it was acceptable then. But my normal,
they're not supposed to, you're supposed to take the second, not necessarily the first reading, because of what you're saying, right?
I guess I have a machine that takes 3 readings and gives you the average. It just goes through the whole thing 3 times. You can do it either 1 time or 3 times, and it goes through the average, and it like I say, it's right there. Now, my blood pressure used to be about 150 to 60 over 90, okay? And because of that, I was on 2 different blood pressure medications. And I'm trying to remember that. Lisinopril was one of them. What was the other one? I try to forget the medicine, so it's good. But I had to take two different medications every day, and I could get it down to 130, 135 over 80, all right, which is acceptable. After it started, when I went on pretty strict keto, it started coming down. Right about the time I went on carnivore, after a week or two, I noticed that it really started coming down. So I stopped one of the medications, and I kept an eye on it. And pretty soon I was able to stop all the medications. So I haven't taken a blood pressure pill now in almost a year. I think I threw them all away.
Mitch, there's been a question up here for a while. It's from Keto Pilates Chick. She wrote, can you talk more about the Carnivore Zen? I think something about not eating processed food contributes to less anxiety, or maybe it's from the healthy protein.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Well, that Carnivore Zen, I thought that I had invented that for just a few minutes anyway. It was not, a few minutes I thought maybe that I had invented it, but I figured, it's too obvious. Excuse me 1 second. It's too obvious a term. Somebody had, so I Googled it and came up with some old YouTuber about 2 years ago that I don't think is active anymore that was using that name. And of course, Zen, like Zen Buddhism or whatever, it means relaxed, chilled, laid back. And I noticed that that complete change in my type A personality. I'm still a type A, but I don't fly off the handle as much anymore. Sometimes for the sake of theater on these videos, I can do a rant as good as anybody, but it's not a raise your blood pressure thing. It's more of just saying what I think, but I don't feel that boiling up inside of me like I used to.
Question from June D.
Wait, I'm not done answering the Zen question yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, sorry.
I think that the physiological changes that happen to every aspect of your body are so profound, from basically finally in your life giving your body every nutrient, every building material, every molecule that it needs to do its biochemical work. And I've studied a lot of cellular biology, of how the molecular reactions work. What is the chemistry of life? How do things move? How do your muscles contract? I mean, I was curious. I had to know this. And in studying those things, I learned how complex the proteins that we build are, and the mechanisms that we build the proteins with. How every step along the way, these little molecular machines are taking raw materials, and this is inside of a cell, out of the cytoplasm of the cell. They're taking amino acids and they're putting them together in peptide chains. And if they and they're running off the code that comes in the mRNA. You're familiar with that term, messenger RNA. That's what they're screwing with these vaccines.
Yep.
But the messenger RNA has a job in our cells. And what it does is when the DNA is transcribed, when the code to build the protein is read, it's encoded in a messenger RNA. And that then goes into the cytoplasm, and a little machine, like a ticker tape, reads that mRNA chain, and it's made up of 3 codes called codons. And each one of those codes, the different combination of the 4 bases, represents an amino acid. And it has to go into the cell, and that amino acid that has to fit in that place needs to be in that cytoplasm, or that protein can't be built. It's like building a house, and you're putting a brick wall up, and you're making a checkerboard pattern of black bricks and white bricks and black bricks and white bricks, and you run out of black bricks. You're done. Either you build an all-white wall from there on, which is going to look stupid, or you can't build what you're trying to build, and that's what happens in our body. We can't properly build a protein if we don't have all the amino acids that are called for to build that protein. And if we don't build that protein, which is needed to do a job somewhere, that job doesn't get done. And because of the way we're eating and the malnourishment that we've had all our lives, we have screwed up our chemistry, and we were never able to really exist with the health that we were meant to. Eating this diet, you're very rarely short of any of those nutrients that you need. On top of that, on top of being now malnourished, we are throwing monkey wrenches in the machinery with the poisons that we're eating and the compounds and the chemicals that we're eating in the plants, in the sugars, all that stuff. And not only are we running on shortage of building materials, but we're throwing obstacles in the way. We're throwing in chemicals that are very close to the chemicals, to the molecules that we would normally use. We're using plant sterols instead of cholesterol to build stuff in our body. Some of our cells are made out of plant stuff instead of animal stuff, because they're so similar that the body recognizes that it's as close. This is why, one of the reasons why carnivores don't sunburn as much, because all of the sterols that are used to build the skin cells are animal sterols, not plant sterols. Plant sterols come from a whole different kind of organism, whose job is photosynthesis. And we're not plants, but we're turning ourselves into plants. I read some papers that show that up to, I think it was up to 20% of the body fat, they've done biopsies on some people, is actually
broccoli. No, I'm not kidding.
well, it's alpha linoleic acid. It's a plant oil instead of an animal or saturated fat. We are not giving ourselves what we need. And I don't know if you realize this, but there's nothing in you, in any of you right now, not a thing, not an ounce, not an atom that was there 7 years ago. I don't know if you knew that or not. I mean, it's a staggering thought. Everything that you are today is rebuilt. It's new, and it wasn't here 7 years ago. Everything that was here 7 years ago has been replaced. We still are the same person, and we look like the same person, but it's an interesting thing to think about. We're constantly replacing cells. They're constantly dying, redividing. We're constantly rebuilding every aspect of our body, our muscles. And what's happening to us is we're rebuilding with inferior building materials. So instead of getting the stuff that, getting the factory manufactured part that is going to work, you're getting some OEM part from China that might work. And we're doing that to ourselves. And this is an ongoing thing in every living thing. We're constantly changing. And in the process, funny things happen to us. When men get older, our ears get bigger. You see these really old men look like elephants, So I think that's a long
sorry.
That's a long answer to a question, but it's stuff that fascinates me, and that's why I'm doing these live streams, so that I can. There's wonderment to what's actually going on in what we call a body, because our body, like I've said before, is a collection of trillions of what are basically individual living things, all glued together, communicating through hormones and electrical signals in the nerves, and operating as one gigantic organism. And that includes the bacteria that are in our gut that have a job to do, and everything like that. So I'm eternally fascinated by it. John Mendoza thinks I'm his father. Hey, Pops, he says.
June D wants to know, June D wants to know, can you eat as much meat and as often as you are hungry?
Well,
real quick before you answer, if you have a question, write question in capital and then your question, please. All right.
Can you eat? Yeah. Well, you can't. That's the thing about meat. If you ask me that question and says, can I eat as much spaghetti and meatballs as I want, I would say no, you can't, because spaghetti and meatballs will not trigger your satiety hormones, because it's basically sugar. And we're programmed to gorge when we find sugar, because it's survival food. And in ancient times, when we had to eat something with sugar in it, it was because there was no meat. And our programming knows that if we're eating sugar, we're eating it to survive. That means things are bad, food is scarce, time to gorge. So that's why you eat pasta and you eat sugar until you can't move, but you still really don't feel satisfied. Not as satisfied as if you'd put down 25, 30 ounces of steak. You get to a point in eating a steak, it stops tasting good to you. You just go, oh, God, I can't eat another bite of this. But you're not full. You're not bloated. You don't feel stuffed. You've got the nutrition you need. Your body says your insulin levels stay low because there's no sugar, which is what happens when you eat meat. You don't get an insulin spike like you do with any sugar. Because your insulin is low and you've eaten food that's so dense in nutrients that you don't have to stretch your stomach out with this stuff. And the fact that your insulin's low and you start getting signals from the stretch receptors in your stomach that, okay, we're starting to fill up, your fat cells start to put leptin out. Leptin is the satiety hormone. And the leptin goes out of the fat cells. It's made in the fat cells. And it basically is a signal to the brain that says, stop eating. We have eaten enough for now. Okay? That can't happen if your insulin levels are high. Another thing that can't happen is that your fat cells can't release any fat either if the insulin levels are high. So when you eat a lot of sugar and you start to get hyperinsulinemia, you start to have a lot of insulin running around in you, and your pancreas is overworking itself and getting tired, you're turning yourself into fat, what they call fat storage mode, because the only time you're really supposed to get insulin levels that high is when you're out there eating survival food because there's no meat. Unfortunately, we have turned the survival food into our main food, and the push is on to make it our only food now. And that signals pretty well the end of the human race, because we can't survive if we keep poisoning ourselves like that. But nobody thinks about it in those terms. They equate plant food as every bit as good as animal food. In fact, if you like animal food, we'll make you something that looks like animal food, but's really made out of plants. And now here comes the fake meat, possible burgers. You can't do that. You can't do that. Well, I was answering a question. Did I answer it, or did I go off on one of my little professor rants? Okay. Oh, the question was, can I eat as much meat as I want? And my answer to that was, yeah, I dare you. I'd like to see you. I'll put 48 ounces of steak in front of you, and I dare you. You will not want to eat that much, and that's the thing that we're not used to. We're used to wanting to eat more and not being able to. Okay, we're not used to being able to eat more and not wanting it. And that's what happens when you eat animal products and meat, is you just can't do it. You don't want to do it because you're built that way. You're built that way. You don't see fat tigers and lions out there. They know when to stop eating. And we do too if we just listen to our body. So that's the answer to that. Now, for the first 30 days, in my little video where I proposed the easiest way to get started on this, I said, your job is to eat. You got one job, just eat. Eat, 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 eat. Eat too much. Eat as much as you can. If you get the slightest bit hungry, eat some more. And the reason I said that is I want you to exist for 30 days in that I can't eat another bite mentality and feeling. I want your satiety hormones flowing all the time, because if you're going to stand any chance of not falling prey to a craving, it's going to be when you're not feeling hungry and feeling like you just don't want to eat. And that's how I did it. That worked for me, and it was amazing. I just said, for the first 30 days, I don't care if I gain 10 pounds. I got to get my chemistry switched over to becoming a fat burner instead of existing on sugar. And I'm just going to make sure I got food everywhere I go. I mean, if I go out, I'm going to have a Ziploc bag with a couple of hamburger patties in it. And if I don't, I'll stop at McDonald's and get some hamburger patties. And it worked. It worked for 30 days. Now, after 30 days, it's a whole nother story. Then you start thinking about how to settle into this and what you're going to be eating, the amount of food that you think is appropriate to eat every day for you. You're going to start exercising a little. You're going to start coming up with what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, because you have to make your mind up. Don't start this thing unless you say to yourself, I promise, I pledge that I want to do this for the rest of my life, because you're going to reap tremendous benefits, and it's going to get easier. And after you get a year in, you're going to say to yourself, why would I have ever done it any other way than this? But getting from point A to point B is a real journey. Question, speaking of vaccine, did you get COVID shots? Oh, God. I mean, there's another one before that. I'm watching this in my backyard while grounded to the ground with my bare feet. Have you been doing a lot of research into grounding? You know, I've done a little, and sometimes I'll walk outside in my bare feet, but it's not something that I feel is, for me. That doesn't mean it doesn't have tremendous validity, and I understand the ancestral need for it, or the fact that they were grounded, and I understand that the role that electricity plays in our body, and grounding to the earth is probably not a bad idea. But no, I don't practice that. I do try to get the morning sun in my face for 15 minutes or so every day.
There's a question from Linda G. I am a T2D, which I'm thinking is type 2
Type 2 diabetic, yeah.
With no meds, yet I started 5 days ago on carnivore diet, and I lost 1 pound a day. I'm concerned about my metabolism, and as I really am not hungry a lot.
Here it is. I see it here. Yeah, Linda G. Question. I'm type 2. I started 5 days ago on carnivore, and I lose a pound. Okay, 5 days on carnivore. And you get a lot of these questions. I've been 7 days, 3 days, 2 days, 6 days. You can't tell anything in the first few days about what's happening. Most of the time, just the fact that you're not eating sugar and you're eating just animal protein and fat, you're going to start dumping sugar out of your cells, okay? And in your cells, every molecule of sugar is bound to a molecule of water. So when the sugar goes out, the water goes out. When the water goes out, it takes some electrolytes with it, some minerals with it, and all that goes out into the toilet. You piss it out, okay? And most weight that you lose in the first week or so is going to be liquid. It's going to be water. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But it's a trap, too. It's a trap nonetheless. And the reason it's a trap is because you get all excited. That's why I tell people, stay off the friggin' scale for 30 days. Because this kind of stuff's going to happen. And it's going to upset you, and you're going to give up. You lose 5 pounds, and you're so happy. Oh my God, I'm losing 5 pounds. I'm losing a pound a day. Let's see, that means that in 60 days I'll be down 60. But it doesn't work that way. You lost 5 pounds of water, and you'll probably rehydrate and put that water back at some point. And what happens is after 5 days, the pound a day stops, and then the next day you gained a pound, and you freak out because it's all about the weight. And that's the mindset that ruins people on this diet. Is you're starting something that is going to change your life. You're starting something where you don't have to even think about losing weight, because you can't help but normalize your weight. If you're too skinny, you'll gain weight. If you have too much weight, you'll lose it. I'm still losing a small amount of weight, when I got to 150, I figured, oh great, I'm 150 pounds. I'm done. I'm right where I want to be, 150 pounds. Now I'm 138 pounds. I'm not trying to lose weight. I couldn't eat any more food if I wanted to. I eat everything I want, and I eat 2 meals a day. I probably put down 2+ pounds of food every day. And I still have a tiny little, I can still pinch almost an inch around my little belly here, and it's going away. What?
Let's see the biceps. I remember you showing it. Come on, I know you want to show it. Let's see a bicep. Now that you got it, you can flaunt it. Let's see.
Hold on,
a little higher.
Hold on.
A little higher. There you go.
There.
Wow. Telling you.
And not only
like
that,
a potato in there.
Not only that, but my shoulders I've never had that much muscle in my shoulders. And
I don't want you to take your shirt off.
And my triceps. I mean, it's
crazy.
Good. It's crazy. And you know, when you look at me in these videos, I look so skinny with that t-shirt. I always have these baggy t-shirts on, you know what I mean? And I look so skinny. And I say, these people think I'm a string bean underneath, you know? But I'm not. I mean, I put those pictures up there with me without my shirt on. I had somebody think I photoshopped that, you know, onto my face onto somebody else.
That's funny.
I've never
The real you.
I've never had this in my life. I've never, ever had anything close to a body that I wasn't ashamed of. I mean, this to me, I can only imagine how a young 20-year-old that's built, you know, like that, the advantages that gives them in life.
Listen, I'll tell you this. When I saw you, one of your first videos where you were doing the push-ups, you were doing more push-ups than me. I had to work at it. I'm up to 13 now.
I can do, honest to God, I can do 4 sets of 25 now.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to work on it. I think I have a few more pounds on you, but still, I have to work at it.
But I'm 76 years. Carlos, we're talking about this stuff. I'm 76 years old, for God's sakes.
I know, but you've been working at it. Give me a few months.
For a year, 6 months ago, when I started back in the gym, I could only do 2 push-ups, and the second one was a struggle. This is all come in 6 months.
No, I know. It takes a while.
It's a while. It's crazy. I've been going to the gym all my life. I never had results like this. And the reason is I'm giving my body the materials that it needs, and I'm doing the exercises that I'm doing. I learned that the high intensity interval training was the way to go to build muscle. You push as much weight as you can, no more than 8 reps a set. You push to failure, where that's it, you know. You feel a burn, and what you're doing when you push to failure is you're tearing your muscle fibers down, and when they build back up again, they build up bigger, because your body thinks this guy is lifting real heavy shit and needs more muscle, so you get more muscle. I'm still awestruck by it. That's why I decided to go on YouTube. Do you realize, Carlos?
You motivated me, I tell you that much.
Do you know how long ago it was that I posted the video of me walking on the beach, which was the first carnivore video that I put up?
2.5 weeks ago?
No, it was 5 weeks ago.
Is it that long already?
5 weeks, yeah. But 5 weeks, in the last 5 weeks, look what's happened. I've put out 20 plus videos. I've had 3 live streams. It's crazy. I've gained almost 10,000 subscribers. I was
going to say 8,500 subs.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm having fun. This is all real. This isn't made up shit. This is just me awestruck by it all. And you know, when something good happens to you, and you see people just suffering out there and going through what I went through for 50 years, I want to strangle people and say, you're doing it wrong. And let me help you. But, you know, I found out that out in the real world, nobody wants to hear that. They tell you to mind your own business. What do you know, old man? You know. So I stopped. I stopped trying to give advice to people out in the world, and I figure, you know what? If I go on YouTube, people who want to make this work are the people that are going to come and talk to me, and they won't tell me to mind my own business. So I like this better.
Which vaccine did you take? Some,
luckily,
Carnivore.
Okay, luckily, I took the Johnson and Johnson single shot one that was not an mRNA, I don't believe.
And that's all you ever did, right? No boosters, no.
I will not. After that, and this vaccine information started coming out, especially the mRNA part of it, because I know what messenger RNA is, and I know they're screwing with things that they shouldn't be screwing, especially with these spike proteins and all that other stuff. No way.
I wasn't having any of it. Nope.
No, I wasn't.
Never took a shot.
I wasn't either.
I didn't even wear masks.
Mike B,
Germs
the drone ranger.
People don't get that. I think germs. I still see people with masks. I see people with masks in their car with the windows closed. Like, what are they thinking?
Carlos, they're trying to fire it all up again. They got a new variant, which is, from what I hear, nothing special. Just another one of these things. And yet, the powers that be liked the control. This is talking politics, I guess, and I don't really want to go there, but briefly, they liked the control they had of the population with the lockups. They liked how easy it was to manipulate elections when people couldn't go to the voting booths and everything had to be done by mail-in and stuff like that. And I think they're trying to lay the groundwork so that they can do the same thing next year in the election. And I mean, I can't be the only guy who that's obvious to. So, new election variant. There you go. Joseph Story said it. So good. I'm not the only guy that. Yeah. Anyway, we're not.
So Mitch, I got
no religion, no politics. Yes.
Real quick comment. I got some of the what do they call that? Pork rind breadcrumbs, I'll call them, or pork rind crumbs. And I'm gonna make some. Chicken thighs or chicken cutlets, whatever you want to call them, with that. See how that comes out.
Oh, it'll be good. Just fry them in some kind of animal fat. Bake. No. Do not ever fry anything in olive oil.
No?
No.
Uh-oh. Why not?
No, because olive oil will turn poisonous if you heat it up too hot.
Really?
It'll develop a lot of carcinogens. What you want, olive oil is to be used cold. Like on a salad if you eat salads, but you don't eat salads. I would ditch the olive oil completely. I used to use a lot of it, but when I read when I started to learn what happens to it when you overheat it, it's terrible. Bacon grease, tallow, ghee, butter.
Maybe the ghee. I'll go for that.
Yeah. I'm reading the comments here.
Dancing nurses.
Yeah. Fonz is here. Arthur Fonzarelli is here. I like it. You even got Fonz's picture up there. Yeah, that's Fonz. That's a good point. He says I can talk politics because most people that have enough common sense to be on a carnivore diet are not going to be are liberals. Vegans are more likely to be liberals, and everybody thinks that. But I just don't want to talk politics here.
Right.
There's too much division. We got something in common, all of us. I'd rather rejoice in what we have in common than try to.
Talking about blood pressure earlier, I remember listening to a video from Ken Berry saying that whoever came up with the 120/80 is the one that's supposed to be, for everyone, and it could vary on different people. It's not. There's no exact science with that.
No, you're right. You're right. So many of the things that they call normal. And today, in all the blood tests that we have, okay, they have normal ranges, what they call normal. And the normal ranges keep getting higher and higher and higher because the way they determine what the normal range is, it's an average along a bell curve. And if everybody in the country is getting sicker and sicker, then normal is sicker than it used to be because it's an average of all the sick people now.
Even the blood pressure and the what else? The cholesterol.
Well, cholesterol.
They keep changing
We're not going
that.
to talk. We're going to save a whole live stream to talk about cholesterol. I've done a really deep dive into that, and the reason I did that deep dive basically was the same reason that David Diamond is, and a lot of you may know who David Diamond is, but he is he's got some, and I'm going to be pointing out some of his videos too, some of the best explanations of how far afield they are on all this statin usage and all this cholesterol nonsense, and the research that they use to sell it to people. And it is the biggest selling drugs right now on the planet.
I just watched an hour-long video on that, and the percentage of how much it helps is little to none. It's like,
Yeah, and the way they do the studies using relative risk instead of absolute risk, they take a little sliver of nothing difference and blow it up to, say, 46%, improves your chances of having a heart attack by 46%. Sounds like something when the actuality is, it's like 0.4% difference.
right, it's very little.
Yeah. So
Just
that's
real
David.
quick, Northeast drone production from Australia.
Hey, Matt, how you doing? Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah, good. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Yeah, got a nice mix of drone people. I think the drone people are outnumbered though, because I have 120 people in here, 119, and
Yeah,
I never got more than 27 drone guys at any given time. I think that was a big night for me in the drone sphere. We got any more questions here?
Can you eat tuna fish? The last time I had tuna fish, I had it with balsamic vinegar. Right? Yeah, because you said the mayonnaise is no good. How do you make mayonnaise? Keto?
Well, I'm not a mayonnaise person. I used to tolerate it because I wanted to make tuna salad, and of course the mayonnaise I was buying had soybean oil in it, which I won't eat anymore.
Right.
There's a million recipes on the internet for making keto or carnivore mayonnaise. They make it's basically just eggs and fat. So they make it with eggs, and they make it with butter or tallow or bacon grease, and they have recipes for how to make this mayonnaise. I don't know how it is. I tried. I bought a jar of avocado oil mayonnaise because that's saturated fat. The taste of it just turned me off completely. I threw it away. I couldn't eat it.
Oh, it's not even. Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I'm addicted to antlers, we love Spank. Will you bring him back? I've had a couple of people who have said, "Get rid of the monkey. It's stupid and juvenile." Okay. You know what I mean? But
I thought it was kind of well, whatever.
There he is. I brought him back. There's Spank. Anyway, he can hang around a little while. I'm gonna.
He's having a parrot.
Yeah, I put him on my shoulder, make him small. I can make Spank. I can make Spank big too.
The very first time I saw that, I thought that was a doll. I didn't realize it was an animation.
It's a video of a real monkey, and it's about a 2-minute loop, and it just goes back around and round and round, and you'll see him jump every once in a while. That's where the thing starts over again. But there's something. Talk about Zen. I mean, there's something very very laid back and chill about just sitting watching that thing. Just sit there. Every once in a while, turn his head, take a look to one direction, look back ahead again.
Here's a comment I just read that you might disagree with from June D. And she wrote, what did she write? Where'd it go? That she likes the element over the Dr. What's it? Berg?
Berg, yeah.
His what do they call it? Electrolytes.
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
And also, what do you feel about stevia at the same time?
Well, that's just it. See, if you don't like stevia, then you can't use the Berg stuff. And I always say I am not a Dr. Berg fan. I just based on the ingredients of this product, it's the one that I thought would be best for me. If you look at LMNT, I think it's got. Let me see if I can look that up here. Hold on a second.
I've been using it. So far, so good.
I want to see the element. I want to see what it's got. If they have a nutrition label, even on their website. Here it is. It's got 300 milligrams of potassium, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is salt, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, okay? 1,000 milligrams of salt you really don't need unless you're sweating like crazy, because you're going to get salt from the food that you eat. 200 milligrams of potassium, I think you need 5,000 a day, is not a lot, whereas the Dr. Berg's, one scoop of that has 1,000 mil, so it has over 3 times as much potassium, and that's why I buy it instead of the element stuff. Let me hold on a second. Let me
double check.
No, I'm going to.
Quick hello to View Chaser.
Get fancy here.
The name escapes me right now. Can't remember.
Okay, just that stuff that's on the screen behind me. You can ignore that, but there's the and it has 1,000 milligrams of sodium. It has 60 milligrams of magnesium. And again, I take a 400 milligram capsule of magnesium every day, maybe 800 milligrams. And 400 to 800 milligrams of magnesium is what I consider an adequate dose. And this has 60, and it has 200 milligrams of potassium. And I consider 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams a day adequate potassium. I get 1,000 of it, maybe 2,000 from the electrolyte drink, because sometimes I take 2 of them. But but a strip of bacon, 4 strips of bacon that I eat have like 400 milligrams of potassium. There's tons of potassium in meat. So theoretically, I'm probably getting all the potassium I need and don't need to take it in an electrolyte drink. And if you don't want stevia, then the element unflavored is your best choice, but it tastes, you dilute, it tastes, it's salt, like drinking salt water, and I don't like it. What I do with the Dr. Berg stuff, it does have some stevia in it, but nothing else. No other sweeteners, and it's not too much stevia. It's not sickeningly sweet. It's not designed for somebody that's looking for something really sweet. It just kind of takes the edge off the salty stuff. And if you mix it with water instead of seltzer, like I mix it with San Pellegrino, if you mix it with water, you can even past the stevia, you can still taste a little of the salt in it. So it's not overloaded with stevia. And I dilute it more than they say, so I don't get a big shot of sweet taste, because that's a addiction trigger. So it seems to work for me. Everybody has to decide what they like. Element is probably the biggest selling electrolyte mix that there is out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I like the extra potassium, and I like the fact that it doesn't have too much stevia. That's why I use it. Okay, I hope that answered the question.
Magnesium and calcium, aren't they supposed to be taken together for better absorption?
That I couldn't tell you.
That's a question.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be.
I've been using the Dr. Berg's, and I like it. I got the lemon or the lemonade, whatever they call it. And
yeah, they have a number. They have a number of different flavors.
And seltzer water in the works.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Randy Strack asked a question here. He didn't put question in front of it, but that's okay. He says I'll try again, so he evidently asked it twice. Sorry about that, Randy.
I apologize.
These chats are hard. It's hard to keep up with these things. What's your career background? You don't want to ask that. Don't ask that. Do not ask that question again. I will refer you back to the live stream, the last half of the live stream 2 weeks ago, which you can find on YouTube, where somebody asked that question, and I was trying to introduce myself at the time. So I decided that the first live stream was going to be wide open. I'll tell you anything you want to know about me. And I told my friggin' life story in business, my ups and downs and everything I've ever done, the successes, the failures. I mean, I went into it in great detail. So it's out there. I don't have it in me to do it again. Trying to put that stuff behind me.
Quick hello to Mr. Chris Hope from Texas.
Chris Hope. Chris, my good friend. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you, man. He's the professor and friend. Yeah, these guys, is it Bob Casey coined that professor thing, didn't he? Bob Casey started calling me.
I'm not sure if it was.
I think he
it?
did. Professor
Yeah.
Mitch he used to call me, yeah. Because I used to have the drone thing, and I was kind of like the go-to guy to figure out how to make stuff work. So I got the nickname Professor, which I'm not ashamed of.
I don't see any other questions.
Well, we're going to do this about an hour and a half, and I think it's probably coming on time to wrap it up. That's what I really am comfortable with. I don't want to overdo my welcome, even though, God, I got 121 people here. But leave them wanting more, they say, in show business, you know? So I'm going to call it right there, guys. Carlos, thanks for helping. Love the shirt, man.
I like it too. I'm going to wear it out. I think I'm going to go to a Seventh-day Adventist church and wear it one day.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah. Well, you know, interestingly enough, I've had a lot of comments from Seventh-day Adventists on my videos.
Oh, did you?
On that last, yeah, and most of them basically they're great people. There's nothing wrong with them. Most of them have said, you know, most Seventh-day Adventists don't buy into that crap anymore, and they eat meat like the rest of us. You know,
No,
that
they
was
do.
that was
I
150. That was 150 years ago, and that
Yeah.
was a lunatic woman. But you know, today people can follow a religion without buying into the doctrine of some lunatic that talked to God 2,000 times. Not only did she talk to God 2,000, and God talked to her 2,000 times, she chronicled every one of those episodes and published it. And it's out there in the public record. If you want to find out every one of the 2,000 conversations where God told Ellen G. White that men shouldn't eat meat because it gives them sexual thoughts. If you want to read that, it's out there. It's been published. So it's all real. But most of the Seventh-day Adventists today, half of them don't even know that. Half of them don't even know who Ellen White was. So, you know, you can't hold it against them, that's for sure. Anything else? Anything else? Okay, everybody.
I don't think so.
Well, we're gonna call it a night, and
All right. Well, let me say goodbye first, so you can give your
go ahead.
little goodbye
Go ahead.
speech by yourself.
All
Goodbye,
right.
everyone. Sorry if I missed your questions. I'll try harder next time.
You did good, Carlos.
Take care, Mitch.
See you later.
Goodbye,
Take
everyone.
care. All right. Good night. Okay, it's just me and the monkey now, and I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to thank everybody for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be doing this every Tuesday night at 7, probably for an hour or an hour and a half. This is the third one of these, and we'll get it down. Carlos has been a pretty good sidekick and keeps me on track, and as long as people want to watch, I'll do it. If it gets to the point where nobody shows up, I'll stop doing it. But I'm having fun, and I love doing this stuff. So all you guys out there, all you people, all the drone guys, all the carnivore guys, thanks so much for all the support and the kind words I get from all of you. It means so much to me. And with that being said, I will give all of you not much left of it, but take the rest of the day off and eat meat.